The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. When Gregor Samsa woke up one morning from unsettling dreams, he found himself changed in his bed into a monstrous vermin. He lay on his armor-like back, and if he lifted his head a little, he could see his brown belly, slightly domed and divided by arches into stiff sections. The blanket, barely able to stay in place, slid off completely. His numerous legs, which were pitifully thin compared to the rest of his body, waved helplessly before his eyes. "What's happened to me?" he thought. It wasn't a dream. His room, a proper room for a human being, only somewhat too small, lay quietly between the four well-known walls. Above the table, on which a collection of cloth samples was unpacked and spread out, Samsa was a traveling salesman, hung the picture which he had recently cut out of an illustrated magazine and set in a pretty gilt frame. It showed a lady, fitted out with a fur hat and fur boa, sitting upright and holding out to the viewer a heavy fur muff into which her whole forearm had vanished. Gregor's glance then turned to the window, and the dreary weather, raindrops could be heard hitting the pane, made him quite melancholy. What if I went back to sleep for a while and forgot all this nonsense, he thought. But this was utterly impractical, for he was used to sleeping on his right side, and in his present state, he couldn't get into that position. No matter how hard he threw himself onto his right, he always rocked back to where he was. He must have tried it 100 times, closing his eyes so that he wouldn't have to see his struggling legs, and gave up only when he began to feel a slight, dull pain in his side, which he had never felt before.